Have you ever been faced with a situation that you physically cannot do because you are too afraid? Most of the time, it's fear. However, if it persists, it is most likely a phobia. Phobias are known to prevent people from doing certain things because of their irrational fear of it. Unlike general anxiety, phobias are connected to something specific, whether it be a certain traumatizing event from your childhood or just something you have never been able to stand. Most of the time, the people who have phobias realize that their fear is irrational, but they're not able to do anything about it. My name is Polly Shestak, and for today's podcast, I will be diving in further into the concepts of phobias, where they stem from, and I will be interviewing a few people and finding out about their phobias. Phobias are spurred by the activity in your brain, specifically in the amygdala and the medial prefrontal cortex, two essential parts of the brain related to personality and emotions. Many phobias come from the malfunction of the amygdala, most commonly false negatives and false positives. A false negative is when danger is present, but the amygdala doesn't acknowledge that. And a false positive is when there is no danger, but the chemical signals from the amygdala say that there is a danger. Malfunctions like these can cause irrational fears, even when there is nothing to be fearful of. Okay, let's start our first interview. So the first question is, do you have any phobias that affect your life?
Yes, I have a phobia of clowns.
Did your phobia originate from a certain event in your life, or did you always have it?
Well, I basically always had the phobia, except one time when I was younger, I was at a birthday party, and there was clowns there, and I was just walking around the corner, and all of a sudden, a big, scary clown popped out, and it scared me so bad, I peed myself.
Wow, that is a crazy story. Do you think you will ever get over your fear?
Maybe in the future, except with all these horror movies coming out now, it's really hard to get past it.
What do you do when you're presented with your phobia in reality now?
I usually try to run away from the clowns.
What methods are you using to get over this fear?
Whenever I see a clown, I usually try to look it in the face and say,
What do you do when you're presented with your phobia in reality?
I don't usually face my phobia a lot, but some of my younger siblings, when they have birthday parties, I usually try not to have clowns come, but sometimes when they do, I just look it in the eye, and I try to talk to it. It's really hard, though.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Of course.
I have researched phobias in academic articles written about the origins and causes of phobias. In the article, Emotion Regulation in Spider Phobia, Role of the Medial Prefrontal Cortex, that comes from the U.S. National Library of Medicine, it states that there are also studies that show diminished responses in prefrontal cortex areas, such as the medial prefrontal cortex. Such hypoactivations have also been observed in anxiety disorders other than specific phobias. Interpreting the article, it seems that phobias seem to originate from a malfunctioned response from different parts of the brain that deal with personality traits. So, on to our next interview. The first question is, do you have any phobias that affect your life?
Well, actually, I have a fear of making popcorn.
Did your fear of making popcorn originate from a certain event in your life, or have you always had it?
My fear started a few months ago because I was trying to boil oil to cook fried chicken, and I didn't know you can't cover oil with like a pan lid, and so I took the lid off, and then like a few seconds later, a fire started in the pan, and it was really big, and we took it outside because we didn't want to like set our kitchen on fire, but it was snowing, and so like water makes oil fires worse, and so then the fire like spread everywhere and it burned like our grass and our sidewalk, and now I'm really scared of it.
Wow, that's pretty intense. Do you think you'll ever get over your fear of boiling oil?
Yeah, I've made popcorn since then, but I'm just kind of scared of it. I'm really like cautious. And yeah.
Okay, do you know of any methods that you can use to get over this fear?
Probably just not worry about it too much and not avoid cooking with oil.
All right, thank you for your time.
In the academic article Pathways to Fear in Spider-Phobic Children by Harold Merkenbach, Peter Murris, and Eric Schoten, it stated that while 46% of children claim to have always been afraid, 41% ascribe to the onset of their fear to aversive conditioning events. This shows that 41% of the children said that they developed a fear of spiders or arachnophobia due to events involving spiders that they reacted to negatively. The last academic article that I used, called Phobias and Their Management by Isaac Marks and John Horter, they talk about how to overcome phobias. One of the methods that they talk about is called exposure therapy. It states that exposure treatment is based on a simple principle, persuading the phobic to re-enter the frightening situation that he or she has long avoided and to stay in there sufficiently long, preferably an hour or more, for the fear to lessen. Although many phobics will dislike the treatment at first, it has been proven that over time the patient will become more comfortable in the frightening situation. Do you have any phobias that affect your life today?
I have a phobia of spiders.
Did your phobia of spiders originate from a certain event in your life, or have you always had the fear?
One time when I was little, a big spider jumped on my face.
That's really scary. Can you tell me how you will ever get over your fear, and do you think you'll ever get over your fear?
I don't know, probably not anytime soon.
Also, what methods are you using to try to cope with your fear?
I kill every spider that I see.
All right, thanks for having. A self-help technique that is a little less stressful than exposure therapy is building yourself a ladder. This means that we write out steps, starting out with something simple and working yourself up to facing it in real life. An example of this could be if you're dealing with cynophobia or the fear of dogs. The first step on the ladder would be to simply look at some pictures of dogs. Then you would watch some videos of them, look at them from far distances, and so on until you reach the point where you can touch a dog off of a leash. This method takes a longer period of time than exposure therapy and lets the patient relax a bit more. They are the ones who decide how long they want to spend on each step and when they are ready to move forward. Scientists also recommend learning coping mechanisms that allow the phobic to calm down and taking a few deep breaths. They also recommend convincing yourself the opposite of what your phobia is telling you. The false positives from the amygdala keep telling you that if you face your phobia, you will put yourself in danger. Learning these coping mechanisms are a way to alter the malfunction in the brain and to train it to believe otherwise. To conclude, phobias have been researched for many years and are still being looked into to find the real cause to why they are formed. Scientists are continuing to find the roots of phobias and trying to find ways to treat phobics from their irrational fears. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. The last academic article that I used, called Phobias and Their Management by Isaac Marks and John Horter, they talk about how to overcome phobias. One of the methods that they talk about is called exposure therapy. It states that exposure treatment is based on a simple principle: persuading the phobic to re-enter the frightening situation that he or she has long avoided, and to stay in there sufficiently long, preferably an hour or more, for the fear to lessen. Although many phobics will dislike the treatment at first, it has been proven that over time the patient will become more comfortable in the frightening situation.